What if I told you that one of the most powerful empires on Earth, a seemingly untouchable giant, could collapse in just a few short years? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about today. The absolutely incredible story of how ancient Persia fell and then, like a phoenix, rose spectacularly from the ashes. And that question right there is the key to this whole story. You've got this massive, wealthy empire that truly believes gold can fix any problem. And on the other side, a battle-hardened army that puts its faith in nothing but cold, hard steel. This isn't just a war. It's a clash of entire philosophies, and the outcome is going to change the world map forever. All right, so let's start with the Achaemenid Empire of Persia. For more than 2 centuries, these guys were the undisputed heavyweights of the ancient world, a true superpower. But, beneath all that gold and glitter, a fatal flaw was just waiting to be exposed. So here's the crazy thing. Persia's greatest strength, its bottomless treasury, was also its biggest weakness. See, instead of building a truly unbeatable military machine, they just paid their enemies to fight each other. We're talking checkbook diplomacy. It kept the peace, sure, but it was a fragile peace, one bought with cash, not earned with strength. And that bill was about to come due. While Persia was busy writing checks, a storm was brewing up north. This brilliant king, Philip of Macedon, had just pulled off the impossible. He united the Greek city-states, who were always at each other's throats. But right when he's ready to take on Persia, boom, he's assassinated. And the keys to the entire invasion plan, they're handed to his 20-year-old son. You might have heard of him, a kid named Alexander. And this one young man wasn't just going to challenge the Persian world order. He was about to completely shatter it. The collision was coming, and believe me, its impact would echo for centuries. The Persian court, all caught up in its own drama, was just way too slow to see the threat coming. So when their king, Darius III, finally gets his army together, he makes a catastrophic blunder out of sheer impatience. He had this massive numbers advantage, perfect for a wide-open battlefield. But instead, he marches his entire force into a narrow bottleneck, the plains of Issus. This move was basically a gift to Alexander. Out in an open field, Persia's huge cavalry probably would have crushed the Macedonians, but squeezed into this tight space, that advantage just vanished. It meant Alexander's elite infantry, his famous phalanx, could punch right through the Persian line and go straight for the king. And that's exactly what he did. Darius completely panicked and fled, leaving behind his army, his treasure, even his own family. So now, totally humiliated and desperate, Darius falls back on the one strategy Persia always trusted: money. He sends this letter to Alexander with an absolutely mind-blowing offer, basically trying to buy back everything he just lost on the battlefield. Alexander's response? Ugh, it's legendary. It's cold, it's absolute, and it sends the clearest message possible. This is not a negotiation. This is a conquest. The age of Persian checkbook diplomacy was officially over. The final showdown happens at the Battle of Gaugamela. And guess what? Darius flees. Again. Only this time, there was no escape. He was betrayed and murdered by one of his own governors. And just like that, with that act of betrayal, the mighty Achaemenid dynasty came to a pretty shameful end. So, with the old empire in ruins, Alexander had this grand new vision, a world where Greek and Persian cultures would merge into one. But this amazing dream of a unified world, it turned out to be just as mortal as the man who dreamed it up. I mean, just look at how fast this all happens. In 331 BC, Alexander is the master of the known world. By 323 BC, just 8 years later, he's dead at 33. He left behind the biggest empire anyone had ever seen, and absolutely no plan for who was supposed to rule it. What came next was a total free-for-all. Alexander's top generals, who are known as the Diadochi, or the successors, literally tore his empire to pieces, carving out their own personal kingdoms. The Persian heartland ended up in the hands of a general named Seleucus, which meant a Greek dynasty was now ruling over an Iranian land, and let's just say their grip on power was anything but stable. All that instability from the foreign Greek rulers created a huge power vacuum. And way out on the eastern steppes, a native Iranian people were quietly gathering strength, getting ready to take back their homeland and write the next chapter of the Persian story. And this is where the Parthian Renaissance really kicks off. It all starts with a nomadic leader, Arsaces I, who just declares independence from the Greek rulers. It was a small act of defiance, but it lit a fire that would grow into a massive new empire, one so important that it was even known way over in China, where they called it Ansi. You know, the key to the Parthian success really came down to one thing: focus. The Greek Seleucid kings, they were completely obsessed with the West, constantly fighting these wars over territory in the Mediterranean. They totally took their eye off the ball in their eastern lands. The Parthians, on the other hand, were laser-focused on one single goal: taking that heartland back. So just how powerful did the Parthians get? Well, their place on the world stage can pretty much be summed up in a single number: 4. Because Parthia didn't just rebuild some little regional kingdom. No way. They forged one of the 4 global superpowers of the classical age. They stood shoulder to shoulder with the giants: Rome, Han China, and the Kushan Empire, and they controlled the all-important Silk Road that connected every single one of them. And make no mistake, these guys were a military powerhouse. For centuries, Parthia was Rome's greatest rival. They were the immovable object that stopped the unstoppable force of the Roman legions dead in their tracks. Their devastating combo of horse archers and super heavy cavalry created a wall in the east that Rome just could never break. And so, the Persian phoenix had risen again. From the ashes of Alexander's conquest, a brand new, incredibly resilient empire was born, one forged in steel, not gold. The Parthians reclaimed their identity and became a true world power. But this whole story leaves us with a really fascinating question, doesn't it? Is an empire's real strength found in its treasury, in its armies, or is it something deeper, like the will of its people to endure? The endless cycle of collapse and rebirth in Persia seems to suggest the answer is way more complicated than any single conqueror could ever imagine.